Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and ohio everybody. What is going on? It is Gail here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi video. And today we are here to review the Oratoria Manga Volume 1. As promised, it has been quite some time since I did promise you guys that I was going to be doing this. Unfortunately, life got in the way. As you guys know, I got promoted at work, and then of course everything happened when it came to, Danmachi. Everything happened at the same time. Season 5 wrapped up, Full of Water and Light dropped. We had, of course, stuff with the Battle Chronicle side of things, of course, me quitting the game. All of that happened, and so we are finally here to start the review for the manga side of things. I've just read chapters 1 through 4, which is of course consisting in volume 1, of course, right? That is what volume 1 consists of, I should say. And so I'm ready to talk about the manga. I'm here to give you guys my review. Hopefully you guys enjoy this format. Of course, last time around when I did review chapter 1 only, we kind of went through the entire chapter, and to be honest, at that point I kind of realized that's not really a feasible way of doing things. So hopefully this style of video is a little bit better. We're going to be going over some pages that I really like. I'm going to be going over points that I really like about the manga itself, and hopefully you guys enjoy this type of video. Hopefully you do. We'll be doing this for other volumes as well, and if there's any improvements you guys would like to suggest in terms of this, let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you guys all so much for watching these videos once again, and I will obviously continue doing videos like these for the foreseeable future for the manga side of things. Let me know if you guys would like me to do it for the main series as well, because of course that has restarted its manga as well properly. We're, I think, in volume 8 content, I think, if I'm not mistaken, for the Danmachi main series manga. So let me know if you guys would like me to cover that as well. Now, if you guys want to read this Oratoria manga, remember that you guys can go and check out Manga Dex. Of course, Manga Dex is the place for you to go to read anything Oratoria related, I would say. It's got all the chapters available for you to read through in English. Of course, there's fan translations happening. There's no official translation, so you have to use the fan translations, of course, for the time being. But it's really solid. Some inconsistencies here and there, but for the most part it's super good. And honestly, they kind of get to it inevitably. They're a little bit slow, but they get to it inevitably. So I highly recommend checking out Manga Dex for you guys to check out some Oratoria manga. Now, let's start off with chapters 1 through 4 for Oratoria's manga and volume 1 in its entirety. Now, I kind of went over a lot of the stuff that I liked in chapter 1, of course, in that video, right, itself. I kind of covered stuff like the art style and all that sort of jazz. I kind of want to continue with that, basically, the art style, and more specifically, what I want to talk about is the content, of course, right? Because, to be honest, when it comes to, taking stuff from a light novel and putting it into either a manga format or a anime format, you're always a little bit worried about things getting cut, to be quite honest, right? It is completely a fair fear to have, right? But what I do think that the manga does extremely well is adapt as many details as possible while maintaining the right pacing and also adding a couple of details. I think they covered the major points extremely well, to be quite honest. I really do think they've done a fantastic job on that front. From chapter to chapter, page to page, it does extremely well in terms of the pacing and making sure that the main content is there. But it also actually does its own thing at times and adds more to the story, which it doesn't feel like it was at the cost of any other piece of content. It was actually done to enhance the content, which was amazing to see. Of course, one of the beautiful things about the manga as well that I really like is that it is long chapters. They're not short chapters by any means of the imagination. Like, if I were to look at, say, chapter 2, for example, it's a 73-page chapter. It's not a short manga by any means. I mean, if you look at other mangas and you look at their chapters, they tend to be not extremely long. They tend to be around 30 to 40 pages, maybe less, maybe more. But 70 pages is the longest I've personally ever seen when it comes to a manga. And so for me personally, I think that is a fantastic thing that they're doing, is ensuring that the length is not compromised by obviously skimming down on content or whatever it is. They're not compromising on the content by skimming down the pages, I should say, more so. But it's enhancing it as well by adding stuff and adding more details. One of the things that I really like that they've added as well, and when I talk about the manga and what it does to enhance the content, is eyes. For example, there's one page that I really liked in particular, or a set of pages that I really liked, where Eyes was talking to Lafia, and she was comparing her past as when she was, new to the Loki familia, and she was basically the supporter effectively at that point. So she was doing what like Lafia did at the very beginning, or what Lily does for Belle, where she's carrying all the luggage. You can see Mini Eyes just carrying like a whole packet of like a bunch of things, a bunch of loot and magic stones, just carrying it on her back, trying to make her way, and everybody's like, you carried that all the way back? And it's like, it's so funny, but it's done so well because it also gives a bit of light onto Eyes herself, her past, of course, her starting life with the Loki familia, but also it shows Eyes in a very different light, in the sense of where she's not this emotionless character, I should say. It adds so much taste to Eyes, which I think is fantastic. Because the one thing I will say about the light novel, and I know a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but I have to say it because I think a lot of people have rose-tinted glasses when it comes to comparing Eyes to when she started off in the light novel in Sword Oratoria versus what she ended up becoming over a period of time. She was emotionless even in the light novel, especially at the very beginning. Let's not get it twisted. She had some moments of emotion, no doubt about it, but she was definitely a lot more awkward and, a lot more like unaware, a proper airhead, if you want to call it that. Proper airhead when it came to the start of the Sword Oratoria light novel. But as it gradually continued, and Eyes grew as well, her interactions with Belle and stuff like that, especially volume 2 and volume 3 onwards, I would say, of the light novel, you could tell that Eyes was becoming a more emotional character. There was more to her. It may have been internal thoughts, but there were definitely more moments of that. The manga straight away gives you that off rip, which I think is brilliant, because that's what I think it should have been from the very beginning, is having Eyes' more emotional side shown to us from the very top. It's very important that they do that because, of course, when it comes to Eyes, she's such a difficult character to do, right? Especially because of the way she's structured in terms of being one of the strongest characters in the series. And, of course, the main female protagonist for Belle, you have to add some complexities to her character that aren't easy to portray or describe. The anime couldn't do a good job, right? The anime didn't do a great job at it at all. Let's not get it twisted, right? JC staff have effectively, let's not beat around the bush there. They failed Eyes, basically, right? Let's not get it twisted. But when it comes to the manga, it does a good job. Yagi Sensei does a fantastic job with Eyes in terms of the illustration side of things. It's really solid the way they've portrayed her in the manga. It also blends Eyes' and Lafia's POVs extremely well. One of the things a lot of people don't realize with Sword Oratoria, right, is that Sword Oratoria isn't just Eyes' story. It's not also just Lafia's story. It's a focus on the Loki familia as a whole, because you have various volumes that are focused on certain members of the Loki familia, and also just generally also giving us a general overview on other members of the Loki familia. It's not a Lafia and Eyes, centric story necessarily. It's the Loki familia as a whole, but Eyes and Lafia's POVs are the central point of views. Effectively, they're the ones that we focus on, or we are seeing the perspective of when it comes to the Loki familia. So the whole Eyes thing of comparing it with comparing her past experiences with Lafia, in terms of when she was younger and how she started as a supporter and what Lafia is right now at the start of the story, I think it's done extremely well. It adds to the story really, really well, and like I said, it blends the two POVs in a great way because it lends more into Eyes' past compared to what the LN did at the very beginning of the story, but also it also kind of blends Lafia and Eyes' experiences in some ways and shows how Lafia is effectively kind of like Eyes in some ways as well, which helps out massively as well, of course, right? And like I said earlier on, when it comes to the whole Loki familia-centric POV thing and everything, the anime failed on that front. Let's not get it twisted. The anime failed on that front. They tried making it more Lafia-centric, And honestly, I don't mind Lafia as a protagonist, to be honest, especially now, with time and everything, she's been amazing, of course, right? No doubt about it. But the anime did it in a very distasteful way, because you kind of ignored everybody in the Loki familia. You relegated Eyes to being a secondary POV basically, but Lafia was made as the main POV, and that was not right at all. The way the manga does it, in my opinion, was a great way of doing it, to be honest, where you get some moments where it's Eyes' perspective, you see some moments where it's Lafia's perspective, and it's done in a really, really nice way. It's done in an exceptional way, to be quite honest. And again, we are talking about rumors of potentially, not rumors, but suggestions and, predictions of Sword Art Oratoria having a remake potentially, or a second season, or whatever. I do think that the manga, based on just the first 4 chapters alone, it's a fantastic basis to use. I've said it for a very long time that when it comes to anime, right, it's so much easier to adapt a manga adaptation. So I really do hope that if they are going to do a reboot or whatever of Sword Art Oratoria, if they're going to do anything with Sword Art Oratoria, they've got to use the manga as a basis. If I'm not mistaken, I think people were mentioning this in the comment section of one of my more recent videos or something, but somebody mentioned how like Mushoku Tensei, or I think it was in one of my live streams, it was a stream or a video, I can't remember, but Mushoku Tensei and one more series basically used the manga adaptations for the anime adaptation rather than the light novel adaptation, which I think is a great idea, to be quite honest, because one, you have the storyboarding available to you have the illustrations available to you have a good basis for a story available to you off rip, and I think that is really useful, to be quite honest. It's so useful. So I hope that they do that in the future, but again, we'll have to just wait and see, of course, right? But I also want to talk a bit about the content, but more so when it comes to the explanation side of things. This is obviously a start of a story, right? The manga is the start of the story. The volume 1 of a manga is the start of the story. Of course, you, me, everybody knows what a lot of the Danmachi terminology is, a lot of what the Danmachi stuff is, be it the dungeon, monsters, weapons, and so on and so forth. We all know this because of our past experiences with Dan Mimo and so on and so forth, right? But because it's the start of a manga, and because there might be new readers reading the manga, I will say this: the explanations and the details that they put into the manga, especially in chapter 2, I think it was Eyes, Tione, and a couple of other things as well. They did a fantastic job in explaining details such as Eyes and the rest of the familiar's weapons. The level system was explained in chapter 4, I think it was. How the dungeon works, very loosely, but in a very nice way of explaining how it's this anomaly that nobody knows exactly what it is. But all we know is that monsters spawn, and the monsters leave no prisoners. The dungeon leaves no prisoners. And also, along with that, details on smaller things that you wouldn't even think about, stuff like the magic stones and how they're important for the adventurers, along with the general loot drops. It's so well written, in my opinion, and so well described, to the point where I'm like, it's not convoluted at all for people. If you're thinking about getting into Danmachi, I genuinely would say that this the explanations in Sword Art Oratoria are a great way for people to understand exactly what is what when it comes to Danmachi. I think it's a fantastic job from them. I really do believe they did a brilliant job on that front. Now, I want to talk a bit about the art style once again. I will say it is amazing how good the art style and illustrations are in Sword Art Oratoria's manga. Yagi Sensei does a fantastic job, no doubt. I mean, no slight to Haimura Sensei for, of course, the light novel illustrations, right? They also do a fantastic job but I feel like Yagi Sensei, when it comes to the static moments, you know, when it comes to Aiza's internal thoughts or when it's banter between two characters, I think there's one specific page where Aiza's like trying to comfort Lafia, and she has like a RPG style like text box of like choosing which text to pick. I think that was such a nice touch, and it's such a weird one, but it also kind of suits Aiza, so confused on like how to comfort somebody or how to, you know, word her thoughts to somebody. I think that was done brilliantly as well. And then of course you also had some of the more comedic moments of when the Minotaurs got scared of the Loki Familia, and the way the Minotaurs got scared was absolutely brilliant as well. It's so nice. Again, I like some of Haimura Sensei's designs when it comes to the action sequences in the light novel, but Yagi Sensei does a fantastic job otherwise. And to be honest, this is also, I have to remember, and this is what I will say, this is only volume 1, remember, right? This is when he just started off drawing and illustrating the manga. So while he may be weak in some regards due to the action sequences and stuff like that, I think it is early days. So I'm expecting, as time goes on, especially in later volumes, for him to just absolutely start smashing it out of the park. Absolutely. But that is my review of volume 1 of the manga. I absolutely adored these chapters. They were really well done. I absolutely like the artwork, illustrations, like I said, the compromises on the story side of things, and also just generally the pacing and everything was brilliant. Overall, very good start, and I can see why there's been so much praise for the manga of Sword Oratoria. Absolutely. I cannot wait to continue reading this. I will be reviewing the second volume sooner rather than later. Hopefully it might be on Saturday or Sunday. We'll have to just wait and see. But of course, in the meantime, I also have to do the Full End of Water and Light review as well, the story review for that game. So be on the lookout for that. I do appreciate all of you all for watching these videos. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys next time. Take it easy, everybody. Bye bye.